Hello, I'm Sally Pointer and I'm in Spain for a few days holiday. Everywhere I go, there are these wonderful oranges on the street, but these are not your supermarket oranges. These are bitter oranges. At home, we make marmalade out of these. And at the right time of year, you'll see the blossoms on the tree as well as ripe and unripe fruit. It's a bit late now, so we're mostly just seeing the fruit. These do have uses as well as for marmalade. In the 18th century, they were used to make something called Bergamot Boxes. Now, these were made out of the rinds of the fruit, stretched over moulds, allowed to dry, sometimes reinforced with paper mache, and often decorated to make a very delicate little keepsake box. This is something you can try today. If you haven't got access to fruit on the road, then of course you can try this with a supermarket orange. Now, these oranges do belong to somebody. Generally, that will be the local council. Sometimes it will be a local park or a garden. So you cannot just go and pick oranges from the tree. That is really not a good thing to be doing, even if you're on holiday. But most people are not going to worry if you pick up just one or two fallers very selectively. You're tidying up after all. So go for a walk. Find a lovely orange tree or nip to the supermarket. Select yourself a couple of nice thick-skinned fruits. I'm probably going to compare those with a green skin to those with a nice ripe orange skin. But again, we don't need many. We're going to take them back, in my case, to my holiday apartment, and I'm going to use what's in the kitchen to process them. You don't need much. You need access to a knife, a spoon, a bowl, some hot water, something to stretch them over, and some rubber bands. Now, in best Blue Peter tradition, here's what I made earlier. Here's the elastic bands coming off. This one was made day before yesterday, so it's had plenty of time to dry out. And I've used a spice jar that we had in the cupboard as my former for this. Now, hopefully, this will now just ease off. I would expect it to be a little bit tight because everything shrunk to fit as it's gone on. That's good. Oh, that one's good. Oh, I've got a crack in that one. How annoying. Not to worry. This is what I wanted you to see. There's the inside. Oh, and it smells wonderful. And hear how hard that is? Now, the originals are sometimes reinforced with paper mache on the outside. And that little crack there, well, maybe I could do the same. But what I'm hoping is that these will just fit together into a little pot. So as little... That's a really good fit. As little novelty boxes, all that needs now is filing flat and decorating. I'm not going to throw that one away. I'm going to probably paper mache over it when it gets home. But hopefully, the one that we're just setting up now is going to come out really, really nicely. Well, we came back to the apartment with two oranges. This one's huge. It's much more similar to the type you might buy in a supermarket today. And if you're trying this at home with a supermarket orange, yours is probably going to look a bit like that. This is very typical for a faller. Actually, this has got a little bit of damage on it, so I'm going to swap it for that one. We're going to compare the two and have a look at them. So all you're going to need is a knife. I have seen more modern orange boxes where they cut them through this way so that you get the little navel of the orange, the little stalk scar through the top. Personally, I don't see why you'd want that. I think you want a smooth surface. So I'm just going to cut straight down into my orange. And you can see how thick the walls are on these. If you were to give this a lick, it wouldn't hurt you, but they are a bitter orange. They're not a tasty, sweet orange that you'd make your morning orange juice out of. So you've got a thick wall. All we need to do is scrape out the flesh, and a spoon is the easiest way, I think, to do this. They tend to have quite a lot of seeds, these, as well. And scrape out, within reason, as much of the white pith as you can easily get at. You are going to give this another go in a bit. And then just pop that by in a bowl. I'm going to do both of them. And then after that, I'm going to put some boiling water on them. And we're going to leave them to soak for maybe an hour. until the water's just pleasantly warm. This is going to soften everything and give us the best chance of being able to stretch it over a former cleanly. Oh. I am doing this in a holiday apartment with only the utensils that I've got to hand. So yeah, I can think of a spoon I've got at home that would be even better for this. It's much sharper around the edges. Okay, there's 2 of them. I'll do the others in a moment. So we've got nice thick-walled oranges. This is why you don't want to try this with an easy peel satsuma. It's not going to hold up to it. We're going to get as much of this as we can out when it's soaked. It'll come off much more easily. And then while it's soaking, the only other things you need to round up are something to stretch them over and something like a couple of rubber bands. These are just hair bands in my case. And I've been doing experiments using a spice jar that we found in the cupboards here. We think one end is pretty good, the other end has a bit of a flare that may not be ideal. It might be contributing to the slight cracking. So I'm going to have a look and see if there's a little drinking glass in the cupboard that might work for these larger ones. So let me go and fire up the kettle and we'll get these into soak. So my scraped peels are in a bowl. I just need to make sure I can get water around all of them. This is just straight from the kettle, it's just boiled. I'm going to fill that up. This is going to do 2 things. One, it's going to soften the rinds generally, but 2, it's going to loosen what's left of the pith inside. So when I come back to it in a few minutes, it'll scrape and allow me to turn everything inside out, because these do need to be turned around before we can use them. I can go and have a sit down. I might have enough for a cup of tea. These are soaked until it's just pleasant to get my hands into. And what we need to do is quite gently, we need to try and turn these inside out. Now, you are going to have some failures. And actually that one, oh look, that one's got a split. So that's not a good orange. That was one of the large ones, maybe it was too large, but I will just show you what the next stage is. All you need to do is just finish scraping the meat, the fleshy bit, away from the pith until you can do things with it. I'm not going to continue with that one. Right, let's try it with the other half and hopefully it's going to behave. So you just very gently, don't force it, just ease it inside out. That one went perfectly, good. So that bit's all right. So we're just going to finish scraping just the fruity bit we're trying to get rid of, to get down to the white pith. And if you're doing this and you think, well, it's sort of going, but I'm a bit worried about stretching this, this could have another soak in hot water before you go on to the next stage. But that's that one. Let's try this little one. So the one I did a couple of days ago as a test run worked really, really nicely straight off. But they're all going to be a little bit different. And you want the walls thick enough to take the drying and shrinking, but you also want them thin enough to be flexible. So just try it out. Okay, one more to go. Just nice and slowly. Don't do it too quickly, just let it fold in on itself. This one's dripping a little bit there, but I don't think that's going to be a huge problem. If you are a family that has fresh oranges regularly, the nice thing about this is you can try it as many times as you need to get one that works. All right, now because this one's already got a little split in it, I'm going to try stretching it, and if this one also fails, well, that's really not a big deal. I'm just going to move that. So we found this end was quite good on my spice pot. So you sort of massage it into shape. Start with a flat bit and then work your way around the edges, smoothing it down, squeezing it. And at first you're going to think it's not going anywhere, but you should be able to get a band or a tie onto it and just ease everything so that that tightens up. Now at first it's going to look like absolutely nothing is happening, but over the next 24 hours the peel is going to start drying out and shrinking, and it's going to get tighter and thinner and of course harder. So that bit I'm quite happy with. Let's see if we can get the other end to work. Now this was the end when I did my test one that we had a little bit of cracking in because of this. I'm thinking that maybe the answer to that is to take it off when it's dry, but maybe just 1% or 2% off. So all I'm doing is massaging it is probably the way to describe it. Just rubbing it into place. And as soon as you can get something to tie it, something like a shoelace would probably work as well if you could tie it around nice and tightly. Those of you that do 18th century living history, these would be quite fun things to demonstrate if you could find suitable moulds, and little wooden ones. If you know a wood turner, turned wooden moulds I think are what they used originally. Alright, so that one's good. Again, it doesn't look like much at the moment, but we'll come back to this as it dries out over the course of the afternoon. I'm just going to put that there. And then this last one, I think I've still got quite a lot to scrape off this. It's a bit like squeegeeing actually. All the pulpy, pithy orange juice. You're scraping orange juice off the peel. Okay, and this one, we did think about experimenting with a square one. I've seen heart-shaped pots as well as little squares, but I think for this one, given that I'm down to one, we're just going to see what happens if I put it over the glass. And I'm going to have to find another band for this one, but I think actually let me try a bit of tape. This is actually a test run for a totally different project which I brought away on holiday with me as something to do on the plane. So yeah, you improvise when you're away. Let's see if we can just tighten that up. And can I tuck that in without it all going horribly wrong? Expect I can. Yeah, okay, I think that'll work. Yeah, I think that's as much off that as I can. Right, that's fine. I can clear this up. As this dries out a little bit, we'll have another little look at it. There's nothing to stop you taking off the bands and reattaching them in an hour or so when it's all settled in. And we come back to that as it dries. After about an hour, you can see that these are starting, I mean, they're a long way from dry, but they're starting to conform a little bit to the shape of the mould. There's still a bit of bounce to that, and if you look at the thickness of the peel and you compare it to my dry ones, that's how much it's going to thin out and shrink as it keeps drying. Now I'm still experimenting with this one. I took the tie off it wasn't working very well, so we had a go at pressing it between 2 cups. I don't know if you can see that very well. That sort of works. It's a bit frilly around the edges. It's much better with 2 hands. The problem with that is that this side isn't going to dry very well. So I think I'm just going to keep smoothing it down over this, and I'll tie it down overnight. Now that they've sat for a while, they are quite malleable. So it might even be that a little extra soaking, if you're finding yours tough, try another hot water soak for half an hour. It is about experimenting a bit, but you can see that orange bit is the bit that's going to dry out really nicely, and this fleshy, pulpy part, that's going to become really, really thin with time. it just needs overnight now. And it's our last day tomorrow, so I hope they dry before I have to put these on the plane to get them home. As your orange peel box continues to dry, you are going to need to adjust the straps every now and then. So just periodically pat it over, give it a little squeeze, take the tapes off or the bands off, put them back on again, and steadily you're going to see that shrinking down and drying. Now, my first one took a good 24 hours to dry. I'm going to finish this video fairly soon because we've got to get up in the morning and get ready to head out, but I'm very hopeful that this is going to be ready to decant, take off its mould and take home with me to finish. The one we made earlier now really just needs tidying up. You can see that the edge is a little ragged. That can be filed. You know what? A nail file will do, but I could also take a rasp to it. The surface, you can probably hear how lovely and dry that is. My slightly cracked area, which I actually can't see at that moment, it's there, little tiny crack there. I think I probably will paper mache the bottom, but quite often these will come off really nicely. And a little bit of a sanding, a little bit of decoration, a really good place to try out your Rococo style floral painting. And you've got this beautiful fragrant interior. I mentioned their use for 18th century reenactors. If you've got such a display, why not consider one of these as a patch box? I think they'd be a really good option, and certainly as little novelties they're a lot of fun to make. And hey, what's the worst that can happen? If you get one that doesn't work very well, dried orange peel makes great fire lighters, but I hope that you will have some that come out nicely, and we can maybe have a go at bringing these back into fashion again, because they really are a lot of fun. I've greatly enjoyed bringing you this very short craft project from my very short holiday. I'll see you again with some longer videos before too long. Bye for now.